I'm gonna read a personal essay. Mighty Mouse. The inscription on the back of the grave photo is written in a hurried cursive, cursive print hybrid. It reads, Dojo Awards, July 2008, Guru Del Ali. I must have written it in August, a week before my Greenbelt test, a few weeks before I would have left for graduate school. The picture inside shows me smiling, bright-eyed, high-cheekboned, and full of teeth. I am wearing a black blazer layered over a gray and white pinstripe dress, which is layered over a white and button-down, affixed with a maroon and gold striped necktie, so think Harry Potter. My ears are adorned with silver hoop earrings the size of bangle bracelets. With my Gumby haircut, I stand 1 3 inches taller than my father, Joe, and Guru Del, who stand beside me. What isn't shown? My dress is open in the back. Not because of a design or a fashion choice. This is not a party dress. This is a dress that one picks up in the workwear section of H&M when she has no formal clothes and wants to get more bang for her buck by wearing it to the occasional social event and future employment opportunities after college. The photo doesn't show me holding both sides of the dress together as Jennifer, Greenbelt, pulls and pulls until the zipper relents, no match for my broad back, built up by push-ups, no less than 50 at a time. The word muscle comes from the Latin term musculus, which means little mouse. After training at least once a week in Kung Tao for a year, I still looked as slim as I did as a college freshman. The only indication that my body had changed was my clothes fitting tighter, the feeling of my thighs seeming as though they were about to burst through my jeans, Hulk style. And my arm muscles chafing under girly short-sleeve tops was new to me. I began to refer to myself as a Mighty Mouse. But I didn't begin training simply to get fit. The day I signed up for classes, I was already consistently walking a mile back and forth to my therapist's office. While I was making progress with my PTSD, I was still hesitant and skittish. If someone who wasn't family or a close friend initiated physical contact, like a hug or a pat in the back, especially if the someone was a guy, I would feign a smile on the outside, while inside I would hide in a corner of myself to contemplate what it meant. While I was no longer interested in taking up less space, I still felt distant from my body. It would behave in ways that I didn't seem to have any control over. I hoped martial arts would bring me back into myself. It's hard to be skittish in a martial art or any contact sport. The first time I tried a wide leg stretch, hands on the mat, legs spread out as far as they could go, I crumbled under 30 seconds. This is a generous estimate. Not because of the pain of the stretch, but because Daniel, a purple belt, had come over to assist me with a deeper stretch by placing his hand on my waist, the same as he and the other instructors had done with the other students, old and new. All I could think was, why did it have to be the cute guy? I was afraid that I would blush or my body would behave in some other way I couldn't control. It's hard to be hesitant when someone is about to punch or topple you. I was paired with another white belt for my first 3-minute match, a young woman who was about my age. I sidestepped and evaded her before eventually going in. When I made contact with her skin, the softness of it shocked me. It was almost paralyzing. It was as if I had never felt skin before. Surely I had. Maybe shook a friend's hand, but it wasn't like this. I didn't want to fight her. However, I didn't want her to hit me. So I continued with the round. We shook hands afterwards. It's not fun when you're hesitant and unsure of your body and someone throws a punch at you, or rather, you walked into their punch because you were in your head and didn't see it coming, so now their glove is in your nose. Upon impact, my nose flattened. Tears rolled. There was no pain, no broken bones, just the disorienting feeling that something, a pretty powerful punch, had hit me. Guru Del was no help. See, you deserved that. Walked right into the punch. He let me step off the mat to regain composure. I didn't like getting punched. I didn't like other people watching me get punched. And I didn't like people watching me at all. I get that pit, this burning in my stomach the minute Guru Del instructed us to gear up for a match. So I opted out of regular practice as much as I could. I preferred Thursday classes when Guru Del invited his personal training clients, mostly dojo moms, to work out with us. In a class of 18, there were no eyes trained on me. I could soak into the mat for an hour and a half and blend in with the others. There is something about sweating with a group of people that can make you feel connected to them. After a few months of training, I began to feel at home in the dojo. My training partners cheered me on and drove me home some nights. Guru Del looked out for me. Since I was a college senior part-timing it at the Walgreens and the campus writing center, he agreed to let me train for half the price with the expectation that I would put in the work on the mat. And he counseled me, told me I was enough when sexist and homophobic street harassment wounded and frightened me. I felt so comfortable in the dojo that I even considered letting myself be peer pressured into getting a dojo tattoo when some of my training partners said they were heading to the parlor a few stores down. I considered it. A tattoo was probably equal to or as painful as the day after leg day, but I couldn't think of any place in my body I'd want a snarling tiger. Guru Del would say that there were two main reasons to be physically close to someone. Fighting. I knew I wouldn't always be able to avoid sparring and grappling, not if I wanted to advance. To ease myself into it, I started attending Friday afternoon practice, which became default one-on-one sessions with Cornell, another purple belt. We went through the same schedule as regular evening classes, stretches, workout, and self-defense. Because it was just the two of us, we could work techniques for as long as I needed. We would work until my blocks were automatic, my kicks were waist level, my punches went straight through the target, awkwardness transformed into assurance. The more I trained, the less physical contact frightened me out of my body. I didn't slip out of myself and pray to feel nothing the way I did when a family acquaintance turned babysitter pressed himself against my tween-age 110-pound frame. I didn't hold my breath, remain motionless as I did when a middle school classmate placed his arm around my shoulders in the middle of reading to impress one of his friends. Although my heart raced, I was able to practice a grappling technique lying on my back with Cornell mounted on top of me and remain present and energized. And slow dancing. As I began to settle into myself, I felt less frazzled and self-conscious around Daniel. We would often leave the dojo together and walk over to the mall food court for post-training sandwiches. Afterwards, he would give me a ride home and we'd both take the bus to the train station. I managed to steady my voice, but not look at him for too long, lest I lose all words. Whenever we spoke. During one of our strolls through the mall, I stopped to admire a tulle dress in one of the shop windows. Maybe I can wear that to the dojo awards, I wondered aloud. Daniel, who had never seen me in anything other than my usual jeans, gi, and button-down, replied, "No one would ever expect that." I can't remember how I responded, but he added, "I like all sides of you, the girly and the tomboy." I thought of the ways I wasn't a tomboy. Tomboys are tough. I am not a tomboy. Kung Tao is the only physically demanding activity I ever tried, and he wouldn't be the first person to misread my bi-queerness for tomboyisms, but then I embraced it. He notices. He likes my fluidity. Even till this day, that still holds up as one of the best compliments I have ever received. But I didn't know what to do with it. New to the art of flirting and requited love made me uncomfortable. And I wrote requited love. I tried to write it phonetically because I was like, I'm going to F this up as I read it. Anywho's, to ease that discomfort, I told myself that he was just being a nice guy. I thought this even after he invited me to a C-rated super or just average hero movie one evening after our post-training carbo load. I told myself this was just an impromptu hang, nothing more. Reason why, it was only 7 p.m. The movie theater was right across the parking lot. We had time to waste until the next bus came, and I had just ordered a fragrant tuna sub with pickles and raw onions. If this was a date, I would hold the onions. How Daniel felt about me became clearer to younger me as we waited for our connecting buses at the Rogers Station depot. It was 10 p.m. The amber glow from the light poles and the bus headlights entering and exiting the station provided the ambiance as our conversation drifted into relationships and how difficult it was for fine guys to find love. Daniel shared that he was interested in women who were interested in getting to know him. Women who would want to know that he was finishing up his studies to become a physical therapist. He had a 3-year-old son, and he was one of the rare 2% of black people globally who couldn't even break out a two-step on the dance floor. Those are mostly my words, but it was still shocking to me, but also endearing. He was an imperfectly perfect, sexy guy. However, the women that often approached him were more interested in his looks. They treat me like a piece of meat, he said. That's because you got that Tay Diggs, how Stella got her groove back type sexy going on. You should Google it. Yeah. I said matter-of-factly in a tone that I hoped would belie my thirst. He had opened the door to this conversation, so I thought it was perfectly fine for me to step across the threshold to tell him his truth. He was hot, but not just hot. And this was objective fact, in my opinion, and in the fact of other protein deficient women. Or maybe I didn't hide my intention very well. Daniel responded with something too swaggerific for me to remember or to write, and ended with a playful, yeah, I want someone who gets me, but you're probably a virgin, and I'm a freak. I jump in with a cowboy hat like, yeah! He wasn't subtle about his thirst. I received it as a challenge, despite my longing. All I could do is chuckle and smile. Wait, why didn't you correct him, my therapist asked when I recounted the story to her. Just because you're a virgin doesn't mean you can't handle him. I attempted to explain to her that after a year of training, I was used to being close to people for fighting. I didn't know how to be close for slow dancing. I could say no. I needed more training to advance to yes. My 7-year-old therapist, she knew a thing or two about slow dancing. Maybe you could use it as foreplay, she suggested. Thank you.